a question. Is there any man or any boy child that is born with a checkbook? I really want to know, if the male gender is born with a checkbook, why is it automatically assumed that it has to be a man that foots the bill?
This is an interesting question. Why is it automatically assumed that it is the man that foots the bill? But the truth is, the men actually want it this way because they want the kind of relationship where he who pays the piper dictates the tune. And for a lot of men, they want to dictate the tune. So the only way they can do that is to pay the piper. That is the simplest answer to this question. But there is a much more complex and a much more difficult answer, which is, I don't want to get too academic, but there's something in evolution psychology referred to as mating strategy, which is basically why men want women and why women want men. And if you look at the studies that have been done on this, women generally want men for just two reasons, basically. It's for protection, it's for provision, or it's for both. And the truth is, we have handed over the mandate of protection to the government. So women don't really need men for that anymore, at least not in a romantic partner. The other one is provision. So obviously, the women are going to expect the men to pay the bills because that is specifically the reason why they wanted the men in the first place. I don't think it's a wrong or a right thing to want. I mean, everybody wants what they want in a relationship. Men have their wants as well. And if the woman wants a man specifically because she wants somebody to pay her bills, I don't see how that is a problem.
It has become commonplace to see ladies asking about how a man's worth is dependent on how much he spends on them.
Yes, I understand why some people will feel that is not good, but I also understand why it is the case. The reason is the case is because it's an indicator of how much of a provider he can be. That's usually what it signifies. So again, if your primary goal as a woman is to get a man who will provide for you, I mean, can you really blame the woman for looking for the signifiers of a good provider? I don't think so.
It's almost as if the woman is seen as one who does not have the capacity to earn or to spend. I used to think it was a case of women who were not financially independent until I was made to understand that it is sometimes even worse with women who have their monies. They can be more entitled. What is really heartbreaking is seeing a family of two household income living on one because the woman has been told that she must never allow herself to take on the role of...
Again, this is more of a cultural problem than a women problem. Throughout, the narrative that is always available in the culture is that the men are the providers. They go to work, they make the money, they provide. The women are the one who manages the home domestically. So why are we blaming the women here when the men set up these roles that way? Because for anybody who understands the way the society works, the men have always had the enforcement arm of the society. So the men set up the role, the men defend the role, the men maintain the role. So why are we blaming the women for a system that men set up themselves? Why are we blaming women for that? The men didn't set up this rule. The so-called traditional gender roles is repeatedly enforced by men. So why are we blaming women for adhering to strict traditional gender roles just the same way the men are doing? I mean, there are a lot of men today who they will never think or dream of helping their wives with anything domestic, because to them, as long as they provide cash, they have delivered on their own mandate as the man in the house, and they leave everything else for the woman, and the women have to do everything else. So if the man is saying, I'm adhering strictly to my traditional gender roles that demands that I put check or cash on the table, why would it be wrong for a woman to say, my own traditional gender role is for me to take care of the home and I don't have to help you by putting cash on the table? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, we cannot allow men to say we want strict traditional gender roles where we are the head, we are the leader, we make all the decisions. Our role is just to put check on the table. But all of a sudden, when the man doesn't have money, now he wants to be more of a partner now because he wants the woman to bring cash. You are going to be a partner, then you might as well be a partner in everything. Do the domestic together, do the finances together, make decisions together. But we know men don't want this thing. They don't, because they think it empowers the woman too much. And they don't want the woman to have a say in running the home. So this is a system that was set up by men. But unfortunately, because of how terrible the economy of the world is now, a lot of them are crying wolf. But at the same time, a lot of them don't want to give up the system.
Imagine shortchanging your family especially your children, denying them the opportunity for better quality education or higher standard of living just because you're told that you should not be contributing to the finances. However, why the self-inflicted punishment? Also, the behavior where some ladies on a date, we order tons of food as if they had just been let out of prison.
That is actually very terrible. And I know there are a lot of women out there that are vultures, that they just want to take and take and take. They don't care about the man's pocket. In fact, they would demand much more than what they know the man can afford. But again, as a man, you have to be willing to let go of some people in your life if they don't add any value to your life and they are of no use to you in any way other than to help you waste your money. Why keep them around? If you're on a date and you are in a situation where a young lady is trying to order more than you budgeted for, or even bring her friends along and you know they are going to spend more than what you budgeted, I don't think there's anything wrong if you pull her to the side and let her know, hey, my budget for this date is XYZ. So whatever you and your friend are going to order for, it must be within this budget. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And there are some women that will get emotional, they will get angry, they will throw tantrums, and the truth is, if she does that, just let her go. You are going to be dodging a bullet when you do that. They are not the kind of women you keep around. So again, you can't control what people do. What you can control is what you do. So I think the man needs to do better. I just think so.
Omo, that thing has to stop. It is embarrassing hearing stories of women abandoned to pay bills of tons of food they ordered. Worse is the one where ladies will be asking for transport money to visit someone. Is it a must to visit anyone?
No, she is definitely wrong on this one. It is not a must to visit anyone, but it's also not a must for the men to ask the ladies to visit. So again, this is the thing that frustrates me about a lot of conversations we have in this society, because we tend to treat men like children. We treat them like children who don't know how to be accountable for the decisions you make. You were the one who asked the lady for the visit. So if she's asking you to pay for the transport, that is not her fault. That is your fault, because she was sitting on her own when you ask her to come and visit. So if it's a man I've not decided that I want to date, why the hell am I going to spend my money to go visit some guy that I don't even know if I want to date yet? Why will I do that? Just because he exists? Of course not. So the idea that somehow, again, I know there are women who go overboard with this. There is always the extreme in any conversation. But the fact is, the men can choose not to invite these women. They can choose not to. But you did, but now you complain that they want transportation, but they can't get to where you are without transportation. So why should somebody that you initiated meeting, why should they waste their own money to come and see you?
It is not giving at all. It is not giving prayer, as they say. It is giving erg. Let's do better. Putting yourself on the receiving end is very likely going to turn you into one who ends up selling themselves short. No man is born with a checkbook. The same way no woman is born with pots and pan. Let us focus more on strength-based roles rather than these gender-based roles. Life.
Unfortunately, why she might think she's advocating for a much more fair society for men, I think she's wrong, because she doesn't understand the way men's brain operate. Men do not want strength-based roles. They just don't. If they want strength-based roles, every man will have been a feminist, because feminism is about equality. But they are not. So how can you advocate for men by saying let's bring strength-based roles when nobody maintains traditional gender roles than the men themselves? They don't want traditional gender roles because they understand if they adopt traditional gender roles, there might be some domain where their wife might be better than them. And the logical thing will be who is better at what role should be the one who takes the lead in that domain. But the vast majority of men always want to have the final say on everything. So how can strength-based roles work when men want to claim the position of leadership in every domain, even in the domain where the women are better? Ask yourself this question. Let's say you have a woman who she's better with finances. Let's say she's a banker, she's better with finances, and she's the primary breadwinner of the home. In a strength-based role, you will imagine that, okay, she's the one that is better with money. So she's the one that is supposed to manage the finances of the home. But you will still see your typical African man who still want to say, I still want to have the final say, even though he is less knowledgeable than the wife. So how can you advocate for strength-based role in that kind of situation? And just to touch back on the bill thing, you see, bills, the kind of women that would have been happy to share the financial burden and financial responsibility of the home are the very kind of women the vast majority of men today say they don't want. If you are going to pick a woman to be a full-time housewife, the kind of woman who wants to be a full-time housewife is the kind of woman who wouldn't have the ability to make money because she's a full-time housewife. How is she going to make money? And the kind of women that can make money are the type of women most men called modern women, feminist, or boss. And this is the kind of women the vast majority of men today do not want because they are the scapegoat for all the problems in the world today. So it's almost as if the actions of men does not correlate with the outcome that they want. You are most likely going to get a woman who is happy to shoulder the responsibility, financial responsibility of a home. If you are married to a woman who is a career woman, probably a boss babe, probably a feminist, because it comes with their ideology. But men don't want those women. But now the very women they select, which is the so-called traditional woman who will just stay at home, she does not have any money to shoulder any financial responsibility. So men are like literally just speaking from the two sides of their mouths. And I don't know, I cannot speak for all men, but men will have to decide what hill do they want to die on. Do they want a full-time housewife? And the consequences of that is that full-time housewife will have to depend on you 100% financially, because that is what it means to be a full-time housewife is to solely focus on the children. And if you want a career woman, of course, she will have to go to work, which means she will not be able to be a career woman and be a full-time housewife at the same time, which means you may have to get home from work and have to be the one to go to the kitchen to do the cooking because she's not back from the office. Are these men ready for that? I don't think so. I really don't. So why I think Aisha is trying to advocate for something that benefits men do not want those things. But let me know in the comment section what you think.